Pont-Aven, a town about as well known as it gets in Brittany. Probably because of the artists like Gauguin and Bernard who once hung around here, no doubt freeloading off the local barkeeps. Today, the attraction appears to be striped shirts and stuff in cans. Everywhere there are shops selling them. They're like the saltwater taffy of the French coastline.
I notice a lot of shops with conserves. Conserve de poissons.
Mostly because it's quite touristy. Pont-Aven, food makers just sell it. It's not necessarily even local.
Malheureusement, beaucoup de gens, pour faire des quantités, ils achètent de la sardine en Grèce ou dans la Méditerranée. Ici, on se met un point d'honneur à travailler de la sardine vraiment bretonne.
This is Jacques Perron. My friend Aurelie has brought me here to sample his specialty, which stands alone in these parts.
So Mr. Perron is the only guy who makes standing sardines. And as I understand it, you even conceive the whole bottle, right?
Pour la mettre debout.
Ordinarily, fish in a jar, I'm thinking, not riveting. Visuals, not so good. But look at these little beauties, gently propped up, shoulder to shoulder, like the #1 local at rush hour. Only delicious. And unlike the IRT, these things smell sublime.
Why do you want them to stand up? What's better about the standing up?
Ça évolue beaucoup plus vite que dans une boîte.
It ages differently, and he thinks it gives it a better taste.
Well, let's try some.
That sound, my friend, means magic. Stuff in a can or jar is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it can be a very, very good thing. So what's in there besides sardines?
1 pepper.
First press olive oil.
1 bay leaf, yeah. And I see garlic. And a little pickle.
Voilà. Vous voulez la manger comme ça.
You gingerly extract these bad boys from their jar, dripping with sardine-infused oil, and scarf away with reckless abandon. Accompanied, might I suggest, by an appropriate white wine.
You know, it's hard to communicate on television how good this is. See, in America, if it comes in a can, the implication is that it's not as good, that fresher is always better. When we're talking about a conserve like this, you're curing in the can. It improves the flavor.
On peut faire quelque chose, il faut jamais l'acheter parce que chez les bigoudins, on jette rien.
So never throw the oil. You can always use the oil, which is full of flavor.
You mop, you drag that bread through the oil, waste not a gram, a demi-gram, scarf up every bit. If Jack hadn't grabbed the jar out of my hands, I would have chugged that stuff like a PBR.
How much product can he produce?
1200 bocaux par an.
What if, you know, people are crying for more and more and more and more and more? I mean, what do you do?
Non, on va perdre tout l'origine.
He doesn't care if he could make more money.
Parce qu'on est breton et têtu et qu'on le fera pas.
Because they're from Brittany, they're stubborn, and they simply won't do it.
Well, now only 1,999 jars left.
Would any trip to France be complete without such a scene? Patient aging in oak barrels, carefully studied techniques of filtration, exacting supervision, and careful boutique bottling. The producer is Pressoir de Boulogne, located, not surprisingly, in the town of Boulogne. And this artisan, Gilles Golabre. His bottle is considered by many to be the best in France. That's right, he's a master of cider.
History has taught us anything. It's that people will ferment what's available to make alcohol out of it. And what was available back then was apples. Over time, you tend to get good at it.
And the people of Brittany became very, very good at it. Here, there's a long-standing tradition of making alcoholic cider that goes all the way back to the Celts.
People drink beer, wine, or cider. Vous buvez pas d'eau.
So people didn't drink water at all?
Yes. Because
Never?
water is dangerous.
Right.
Sort of toxic and
Yes,
not clean.
yes.
And
Couldn't agree more. Water, never touched the stuff. Fish, in it.
You know that until coffee was introduced to Europe, everybody was drunk all day long. Coffee was illegal in England for a long time. It led to seditious behavior. But that's another matter. Let's get drunk.
With grape.
We start with the Brut, which, as with champagne, means the driest vintage.
cheers. Merci, hein?
It's good.
It's actually sweeter than I thought.
Ça dépend des pommes.
If it's a sunny year, the apple will be a little sweeter. 50 types of apple altogether.
I'm serious.
It's like champagne.
As we say often on this show, had we been here a few months ago, we would have seen Gilles and his staff pick fresh apples off trees in their own orchard. Then imagine the apples ground down into a pulp called pumice. Then pretend you're watching the pumice being pressed and repressed until all the juice has been extracted. Imagine. Throw in your friend bacteria, wait, and voila. A healthy, vitamin-packed beverage that even Mom would be proud of. Well, okay, until you wake up with a lampshade on your head the next morning. Next, a vintage that's intentionally sweeter.
So this is the sweeter. This is nice.
It's different.
That color is typical of the area.
Color, mouthfeel, varietal, character, yeah, it's got that if you want to geek out over it, but I have my own priorities.
It's all about the buzz, man.
On cue, Gilles presents a hard cider, a dark, rich liqueur, also made from apples. Beautiful color.
We mix with alcohol.
Right.
To stop the fermentation. We make with this alcohol, lambic.
Lambic, another type of alcohol made from apples. We did that in prison.
And we put in oak barrel 3 years or more.
This is delicious. This is really wonderful.
So there's one last round, right?
Yes, the alcoholic stuff.
Lambic vieilli en fût.
It's aged
Yes.
in a barrel. It's lovely. That's really nice. So this is something that the longer you keep it, the better it gets.
Yes. So a friend of his, he found a barrel of it. And it was, what, 40 years old? He'd hid the alcohol
From the Germans.
from the Germans during the war.
And then after, it was pretty damn good, right? Nice.
So the cider that they're selling here, they sell in a 15-kilometer radius. So it's really local. It's just for the
Right.
people around here.
Oh.
So we're extremely lucky.
There seems to be very little interest, in fact, in expanding. Everybody seems to be more interested in the quality of the product and quality of life. This is a very un-American attitude. Do you sell this stuff in barrels?
Pas pour l'instant.
Not for the moment, okay. You could sell this all over the world.
Yes?
Yeah.
I think, but we don't make too enough
For export.
enough to export.
Oh, yeah, that's a problem. Well, they'll have to come here. Get ready, man.
Sorry.
This is really nice.
We try.
Excellent.
The town of Quimperle sits Quimperle. The town of Quimperle sit The town of Quimperle, Perle. The town of, and man, it's hard to pronounce, Quimperle, sits at the convergence of two rivers. It's picturesque, and very hard to pronounce, even in the rain. You got your 16th century houses, your quaint side streets, your 11th century church. But I digress. I meet up with local gastronome, bon vivant, man about town, Franz Lang. Okay, that's a lie. Actually, he's a film guy who's been driving our production van. Every minute we're not on camera, we've been arguing about who's better, Truffaut or Godard. Now we can finally argue about something more practical. Lunch.
I'm particularly interested in the tower of shellfish thing that they do here. I mean, I'm obsessed with this. I look around and I see two people sitting there in front of this enormous heap of crab and lobster and oysters. I'm planning on just hitting that real hard when I'm here.
So, am I getting my shellfish tower today? Franz's Gallic shrug tells me no. This is Thai Bellic, and the specialty here, crepe. Generally, I don't much care for them unless there's like sausage or ham or cheese in them.
The traditional is the one we call complete, and it's cheese, ham, and egg on the top. That's good.
That's quite beautiful. Really nice looking, and it smells good. It's nice.
It's good now.
Yeah.
Even Paris boy Franz, and believe me, all these Parisian guys think the sun shines from nowhere else. Even Paris boy acknowledges that Brittany is where the crepes are best.
Crepes are always better in Brittany rather than in Paris or wherever in the world. It's very thin and very compact at the same time, and it's never burned or it's never too crispy.
Yeah, no kidding.
Next, andouille sausage, which I like, mustard, which I also like, and seaweed, a combination suddenly rendered less than pleasing.
Very unusual mix.
It's weird. I don't know if I like it or...
Seaweed and the mustard together, it's really throwing me.
To be honest, it sucked. Fortunately, the rillette of mackerel that followed was fishy in a good way, uncomplicated and just right.
But that's good. I'm really liking that, the rillette of mackerel, and it makes sense.
So that was round one.
Round one, now for round two.
And I guess a dessert crepe is unavoidable. And as these things go, this was a really good one. Doused with butter and sugar and the local apple brandy.
Love this already. It's about as local as it gets. The greatest hits of the food around here. The apples, it has that fantastic salted butter that's so famous here and so good.
The butter is so good in this area.
Oh, I know, it's maddeningly good. I don't generally care about sweet stuff, but this is really good. Yeah. Did I mention the shellfish tower yet? I'm really crazy about the shellfish
Yeah, like
tower.
3 times already. That will be tomorrow.
I can't wait.
Tomorrow
I have a little calendar in my room, and I'm like, tomorrow, you know, I'm waiting.
As television viewers, we've been trained to expect babbling narration. But little I could say would give you a better idea of where I am than what you were about to see. Still there? Good. Hang in there. Got it? Yeah, I thought so. This is the home of Erwan's family. They've been nice enough to prepare a meal of traditional Breton favorites.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Super.
Wow, magnifique.
Oh, yeah.
This is Kig Hafars. It's so mired in home cooking tradition that you won't find it in any restaurant, not even here in Brittany. The name itself is in the nearly forgotten regional language known as Breton.
En Bretagne, on cuit beaucoup de plats sont des phares.
So a lot of the dishes are called phare. So for example, the dessert we're going to have is a phare, and this is called phare as well.
Mais pour préciser, il faut dire phare quelque chose derrière. Kick à farce.
Kick is meat.
Right. First of all, the phare itself is it's a grain, a dough.
It looks like almost like a pancake mix.
To be more precise, it's a mixture of buckwheat flour, eggs, milk, and that famous salted butter. The mixture is placed in a sack and simmered in broth for a couple of hours. Finally, it's drained, and the crumbly, dumpling-like mixture is broken up. It's served with the meat of one's choice. Of course, no traditional farmhouse meal would be complete without boiled meat and vegetables.
But no, it's good. Very good.
It's very good.
I love it.
Like you really...
Ah, dessert. So for dessert, we're having another phare, but this time a sweet one, and made with the ovens, thus called phare au four, four being oven.
This is the dish of my grandmother.
No.
No.
My grandmother.
So great-grandmother.
Traveler's note, in Brittany, it's best to say it's the dish of everyone's grandmother and leave it at that, if you want to avoid tableside brawls and senseless butchery.
And this was cooked in the oven wood.
The wood burning oven.
Burning oven.
The color is great.
Yes, it's beautiful. That's for a cookbook.
Yeah.
I like very much the caramelized
It's
surface.
good, right?
Yeah.
Because there's this, it's actually quite light for all these rich ingredients. And it kind of melts, and then there's this caramel. It's really delicious. As everything, it seems, in Brittany, it all starts with a big chunk of butter in the dish.
Moving on, it's made with eggs, butter, white and brown sugar, and flour. Many compare it to a flan. Me?
It's kind of like a sweet Yorkshire pudding. If you put the hot fat in first. I love this kind of thing. I love really rustic food like this. It's fantastic.
And now we're going back to this kind of thing.
Without question, for me, that's what it's all about. Chefs always love this type of food. This meal was exactly what most chefs I know adore. You know, for them, a pot au feu or something like this is perfect happiness. They don't want to eat very constructed food. People are finally listening to chefs. They're willing to eat what chefs like. Hey, wait a minute. Maybe these chefs know something. Oh, it's a wonderful meal. Thank you. Merci, madame. Merci beaucoup.
Le plaisir était pour moi.